Tennessee's negative plays, for the most part, were really self-inflicted. Go back into that first quarter, the fumble by Tennessee, it was a mis-exchange by Joey Aguilar and whoever was the running back in at the time for Tennessee. Of course, they rotated the 3 running backs like we all predicted here on Locked On Syracuse. And the incompletions, for the most part for Syracuse, it wasn't because of outstanding defensive play and pass breakups. It was mostly because Joey Aguilar was missing throws or his wide receivers were dropping passes. So even when Tennessee did something wrong, was it really Syracuse that was forcing Tennessee to do something wrong? Or was it just Tennessee making self-inflicted mistakes? I'm leaning more towards the latter in this one. The stats in the first half are mind-boggling. Tennessee had 336 total yards. They averaged nearly 9 yards per play. That means every single time they run a play, they were nearly getting a first down on average in the first half. They ran the football in the first half for nearly 160 yards. And Joey Aguilar, it wasn't like he was all that great either. He was 9 for 18 in this one, in the first half, I should say. And Syracuse, of course, got no pressure in the first half or throughout the entirety of the game. Now, the second half, Syracuse's defense was a little better. They got a couple of stops. They got a couple of 3-and-outs, or really, I think it was 1 3-and-out, but they did get some stops in the second half. But I'm not going to sit here and throw a party about how great the Syracuse defense was in the second half because they still let up 14 points. So that's a good half for Syracuse football defense, allowing 14 points. See what I mean here? This defensive performance was just simply unacceptable, and it cannot continue the rest of the way. Let's get into some of the big plays that I thought really turned this game. Demetrius Samuel Jr. Now, it's really hard to criticize him all that much. He's 17 years old. He's a true freshman, second youngest player in all of college football. The fact that he is on the field is really big for Syracuse football because he's going to have his growing pains. Okay? He'll have his growing pains in this season. He'll have his ups. He'll have his downs. But he's so young, and he's so talented. But let's call it like it is. He got beat in this game in the second quarter by Braylon Staley on a deep post for a 73-yard touchdown. It wasn't entirely his fault, but he did get beat, and it made it 24-7 Tennessee after Syracuse had finally gotten on the board with a touchdown to make it 17-7 in this one. My issue here, and why I have a hard time also criticizing Samuel beyond just the fact that he's a young player or the fact that he got beat, where's the safety help on that play? Where's the safety help? The coach's job is to put players in the best position to succeed. In that situation, yes, Syracuse is gearing up to stop the run. They got 7 guys in the box. But Tennessee's only got 2 guys lined up wide. There is no reason to have your safeties drop back intermediate. You need them back because you know Tennessee, if they do play action, they're definitely going to attack this Syracuse cornerback room that had 2 new guys playing, 2 new guys that were starting in Demetrius Samuel and Chris Peel. So that's partially also on Elijah Robinson. Someone has to be giving help deep in the field, and nobody was. So Braylon Staley, to his credit, he beats Demetrius Samuel on the post. Joey Aguilar makes a perfect throw. He was not perfect this afternoon, but when Tennessee called upon him to make a play, especially in that situation, he certainly did. So that play was awful, and it was a real buzzkill because Syracuse had finally gotten on the board to make it 17-7, and right away in one play, it's 24-7. Not good. And then the end of the first half, I thought was the real nail in the coffin for Syracuse football. You might disagree with me on that and say it was the interception and then the fumble early in the third quarter. To me, it was really the end of the first half in this one because Syracuse, to their credit, they keep fighting. They get within 10 after a clever play design to free up Jonte Cook. Yeah, it was a pick play, and you might have been able to call offensive pass interference on it, but they didn't call offensive pass interference, and Justice Ross Simmons did a nice job presenting like he was running an actual curl route. So it doesn't get called. Jonte Cook is free in the corner for a touchdown, 24-14 with 1:55 left on the clock. Syracuse is in the game. And here's what I was thinking in this exact moment. Because Syracuse is going to get the ball to start the second half. Okay, Syracuse defense, I'll sign for a field goal here. If you let Tennessee go down the field, but you hold them to 3, that's not the end of the world. We can deal with the 13-point first half deficit. Just don't allow a touchdown. A punt would be great. A turnover would be great. But I'll sign for a field goal down 13 with the ball to start the next half. First play is fine. So it creates a 2nd and 10. And I don't even know what you want me to say on this. We talked about this a lot here on Locked On Syracuse, how when the play presents itself, Syracuse is going to have to make the play. Tank Wilson has Deshaun Bishop dead to rights. He's like 4 or 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. You're about to make it 3rd and 14, 3rd and 15. You're going to get the ball again at that rate because you're probably going to stop Tennessee on 3rd and long. You might get the ball and you might get more points before the end of the half. And who knows what happens if Tank Wilson can make that tackle, but he just loses him. And not only does he lose him, then you have Devin Grant missing a tackle at the line of scrimmage on Deshaun Bishop. And so a negative 4-yard play becomes a 47-yard run for Tennessee, and it sets up a killer touchdown, which, by the way, Syracuse also got a little bit screwed on it because it looked like Tennessee had scored with about 30-ish seconds left in the first half. So there was maybe enough time to do something at the end of the half for Syracuse, but it gets overturned on review. The play clock dwindles down a little bit more. And next thing you know, there's only 21 seconds left on the clock when Tennessee inevitably punches it into the end zone. But it's all set up from the fact that Deshaun Bishop turns a huge loss into a 47-yard run. And that's the other thing that just drives me nuts. It's one thing when you don't make that tackle if you're Tank Wilson. It's another thing if you're Devin Grant and you don't make the tackle at the line of scrimmage. But it had to turn into a 47-yard run. We could have even lived with a 10-yard run. I'd be mad at it, but we could live with that. 47-yard run, all of a sudden Tennessee is thinking touchdown instead of field goal. It was just ugly. Ugly performance by this defense, top to bottom, coaching, players. Really on this defense in general, I can't really point to anyone and say that they really had a good game. I mean, maybe you want to argue Deuce Chestnut to me, fine. I'm sure you can go check the Pro Football Focus grades and they'll tell you this guy played well, this guy didn't play well. My eyes told me that nobody really for Syracuse had a good game on defense.